I hope you can see what it says here. Now, I've been thinking about this while I was training this morning, so I went a little bit back to meaning and all of that, the source of everything and why I do everything. So the reason why I'm even here. So I've been obsessed with this question, well, basically all my life, since I was in a serious way, since I was 15 years old. All right, so what is the meaning of life in relation to the universe? All right, so I've already told you, so in some sense, we're just playing around today a little bit with these thoughts, but in terms of meaning for humans, it doesn't matter if the universe has a meaning or doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't matter, because we give, since we put the value on health and being better and on human existence, we value life, then that's all that matters. That is all that matters. What the universe thinks, it doesn't think at all, but whatever it is, it's irrelevant. But it's not irrelevant, I mean, it's irrelevant in terms of human endeavors. You could have just ended there, but since I think this is fun, let's continue. Since I love this stuff, you know, so I just want to continue and continue. But in some way, I believe that the universe has a meaning only indirectly. If it never produced conscious sentient beings that creates civilization, because civilization has a purpose, it has a direction. You don't just create Rome just for the sake of, you know, you have a purpose in creating this. So let's just first start with non-existence and existence. We have non-existence, we have existence. So maybe I was thinking about quantum mechanics a little bit, and how you have nothingness, and how there is no true nothingness within the universe, because particles pop up all the time out of nothing. That is from quantum mechanics. We know this from that. So in some sense, when you have non-existence, so if we take from Nietzsche, when he says, if something is perfect, it has to be destroyed. So in some sense, quantum mechanics constantly destroys non-existence, because, well, I've been thinking, before I was thinking, well, maybe it's boring, you know, it's too boring, or this matter starts to exist because meaning, because of change, perhaps even ultimately because of change, because of imperfection. Perhaps non-existence is unstable to some extent and has to move into imperfection. It's too perfect, so it's self-destructive in some sense, you know? So maybe, all right? So I'm not saying it is like this. I'm playing with these thoughts, all right? But from the human perspective, meaning can only be here in existence and non-meaning in non-existence, from the human perspective. Now, from the universe perspective, obviously the universe doesn't truly care about us. I mean, if the universe cared about us, it would have put us in a perfect spot, you know, we would always have food and so forth. But the universe obviously doesn't care about us. And but without challenge, so in some sense, it doesn't care about us because it's up to us to get that food, for example. Now, there is more than just food in life, but that's just one of the basics, most basic things. And well, it's one of the most important things. But the thing is that, you know, if everything was perfection, non-existence, this is why I really dislike when people say life is just purposeless. If you really think it's purposeless, you're not actually acting upon it, because then you would join non-existence, but you don't. and you don't because you intuitively understand that preservation of human species, you understand that you don't want to die, you want to continue living because you find meaning in existence by that fact. All right, otherwise you would join this, but you don't. You do not join this for a deep reason. It's not that easy to end life, all right? So what I'm trying to get here is that if everything was perfect in life, let's say we had unchange and perfection, then we would have nothing to strive towards by definition, because we would all just sit there and never work on anything, because there is no point in working on anything. Even philosophy, what's the point of philosophy if everything is perfect? What's the point of why even create businesses? Why create anything? You can just sit there, eat all day long, and never move or move. You know, it doesn't truly matter. You see, in perfection, it starts to become meaningless. When you look at perfection, you look at meaninglessness. That is meaninglessness. So when I think of the perfect, heaven or utopia, that to me is meaningless. It is truly meaningless. And not only is it, impossible to achieve, but even if it was possible to achieve, it is meaningless. That's why I don't believe in removing all suffering and moving towards greater happiness. This idea of just pure happiness, just pure bliss, pure happiness, that is inhuman to me. That is inhuman. That is leaving the human life. And in some sense, you can no longer strive towards anything because you have already reached the destination of pure bliss and pure happiness. So there is no meaning anymore. There is no purpose in life. That's where there is no purpose in life anymore. That's why I always dislike the absolute like that. We always move, we always have pain built in. So if we look at, direction here, the pain here, we have some pain like this. And, life is, we have pain as well. And I don't like removing pain, because if we remove pain, then we have no direction. We have no direction. If we remove this, we have no direction. We become perfect. There is no meaning anymore. So struggle and strife and suffering is built in. You need that. And I'm not going to say for you to grow. You need it for greater health. Not just growing, all right? It's not that makes us feel comfortable when we speak like that. I don't want to be comfortable, because when we're comfortable, when we don't have any challenge anymore, we don't have any meaning anymore. We become non-existence. We don't have meaning anymore. So in meaning, challenge and strife and pain and all that is built in. That's why I believe in the hard path. The hard path is the right path. If it's too easy, then what's the point? If you become famous in 2 seconds, what's the point? Perhaps that's why people like Jimi Hendrix and those people, those greats in music, in that particular music, perhaps that's why he ended his life that quickly. Because it became, it came too quickly in some sense. Maybe. I mean, I'm just thinking about it, but I'm not putting my everything on it. But one thing for certain is, if I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I put my actions where my words are, and vice versa. When I don't just talk. I truly believe in existence. I don't just talk about existence. And I don't believe in non-existence. I mean, I don't believe in it in terms of that life is purposeless. Life is not here. Life is here. Life is not here. Life is here. When you die, you become this. But since you are working on your legacy and striving towards immortality, then you're still here. Even though you're dead, you're still a little bit here, right? It sounds strange, but that's the closest thing that you get to here after your death. That's the closest thing. Technically, you're here. Of course, you can't even experience the fruits of your labor, so to speak. All right, but doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter to you directly, but it doesn't matter to the human species, because ultimately that's what we're moving towards. Now, you see the universe, all right? So the universe doesn't have meaning, all right? But the universe created us. And ultimately, why did it create us then? So did it just create us out of, randomness? But we know that it's not total randomness. Even in biology, in evolution, we know that it's not total randomness. There is not total, but it's not like it has a direction in that sense. It's just pressures and so forth. But still, we can look at it mathematically, like it took a certain time for the universe to create us, and then we started to exist, a consciousness, and in some sense the universe was able to observe itself through us, not itself, only through us. And that's not a new thought, but we're connecting it here because, it took some time. Mathematically, there is a probability, and we started to exist, all right? Slowly but surely. And it created us for us to observe. But did it do that for us to observe? Now, it could just be randomness. So, but still, even if it's randomness, then it just means that the universe doesn't have a direct meaning at all. But we can still give life a meaning. Now, but we can't give the universe a meaning, except we do that through this, all right? So we can give the universe a meaning. So in some sense, responsibility, we have perhaps the biggest responsibility as a whole species, in some sense, because we're conscious and aware. Because not only preservation of the human species onto other planets, we have that's also an old thought, but not just that, all right? We have a responsibility in terms of whole species and all of the ideas and all the greats and preserving all the greats as well, preserving all meaning as well, and preserving it as long as we can, and the human species as long as we can, and moving like that forwards, and thus we have a direction. We have a direction. It's not directionless. It's not directionless. How can this be purposeless? All right. How can life be purposeless when we put a direction into it? Greater health. And when we say preserving the human species, how is that purposeless? And moving towards immortality, the closest we get there, we not only preserving the human species, but also ideas, like I said, meaning of life and so forth. Not just, all sorts of meaning. When we give people meaning, all sorts of art, technology, philosophy, and so forth. That is all meaning. That is all meaning. And we're the meaning creators. We're the only ones that can create meaning. The universe doesn't create meaning, except it actually did indirectly, because it created us. Because we are consciousness, we are conscious beings, we can put meaning into life. Even though the universe can't, it can indirectly through us. All right? But not directly, but indirectly through us. Perhaps that is why it created us. Perhaps. I'm not saying it is definitely like that. I'm just giving that idea a spin here. And I think that is interesting and a little bit different. That is a little bit different. Most people just think about this in terms of, yeah, life is just mechanics and meaningless, and there is no true meaning in life. So it doesn't matter if you're doing this thing or that thing. It doesn't matter, but technically it does matter, because if you're doing you love philosophy, but instead you're doing mathematics, then of course you will just be suffering for the sake of suffering, and not working towards meaning, where you can create meaning in philosophy, for example, or vice versa, of course. So you see, it's not like, and in a lot of ways, I'm speaking from the human, but that's because we're the only ones that can we're the only ones that can even ask this question. All right? The universe doesn't ask questions, it just is. And all other animals just are. But we can create. We've created civilization for a reason. We've created philosophy for a reason. We've created everything you see here for a reason. And you see, for a reason. And when we say for a reason, then it has to have a meaning behind that. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. Because if, and the reason is, imperfection. We're trying to make things better, in some sense. Although I don't believe in better, we should actually say greater health. Because, we have health, we have good health, but then we have greater health. And the greatest health, and so forth. So, and the greatest is, as long as we can, preserving as long as we can, both the human species and ourselves, and so forth. And we do that, on a human level. We can do this, through our philosophy, artistry, and so forth. But on a grander scale, we need the whole of humanity. We need the whole of humanity because, and that is why I believe that humanity has to actually work on, and this is a great metaphor because it gets to the person as well, the individual. You see, the individual has to work with his inner conflicts and get out of it, pull himself out of his or her inner conflicts, and eventually settle, like I did. I settled on greater health and subjective experience and that stuff. And humanity has to do the same thing. We have to settle our inner conflicts on Earth so that we have a grander cause, which is a direction. I'm giving you a direction here. I'm giving humanity a direction to move towards. This means that we create a meaning here, and it becomes a universal meaning, because you don't see any religion here. You don't see any tribalism here. You don't see any tribalism. Religion is tribalism. So you don't see any tribalism at all. Technically, you do see tribalism, the human species, but as a grander tribe. All right. Now that is not something new either. And but what is new is going towards greater health in the total. All right. So we advance humanity, that is greater health. We're advancing in humanity, preserving the human species. And to do this, we need to unite and resolve the inner conflicts and move outwards, the core outwards, even with humanity as a whole. I got to this because I kept asking why meaning in the universe, why even, why change, why imperfection, why is it meaning in existence, and why is it non-meaning in non-existence? Now, it seems obvious, but it's not that obvious, I don't think. Now, I kept going, why is it greater health? Why health? Well, because it is greater health Because, well, first off, you got to understand that it's behind that is existence and subjective experience. You can't escape subjective. All humans, no humans can escape subjective experience. And what directly affects all human subjective experience is health. Health affects directly all human experience, subjective experience. But it gets universal like this, because this is where we can unite, greater health. That's the only way we can unite, to move towards greater health, all right? To have this preservation of the human species, to have a direction, a grand direction. I'm talking about the whole humanity here. That greater health is the only way we can unite. We can't unite with religion. We can't unite with politics. We don't have a ground. We're not grounded in anything. And I'm giving a ground here that is impossible to, it's the ultimate thing. It's the ultimate thing. I don't care if you're a billionaire and an atheist or a Hindu or a poor or a Christian or Muslim. It doesn't matter. We all strive towards greater health. We all have health part of us. You cannot deny this. That is preposterous if you deny this. It doesn't make any sense at all. All right? So that's the unification of the human species, greater health. Now, technically, I technically don't just talk about, because ultimately we could unite with other sentient beings in the universe and create an even grander, meaning, a meta meaning like that. But now I'm moving way forward, and but in doing so, I think it's interesting, and in some sense, then what's the antagonist then? Well, the antagonist will always be, personal pain. So we don't need a grander antagonist. We don't have it right now either, as a whole species. We only have ourselves as an antagonist right now, inner conflict on Earth. But we don't have the universe against us. In a conscious way, because the universe is not conscious. Thank goodness. Because if it was conscious, then we might have never existed. So, it's only conscious through us, all right? It's only conscious through us. How do we know it's not conscious? It doesn't behave like conscious beings. The universe doesn't behave like a human being. So that's how we know this. From observance, all right? We don't even need science. You can just observe it like that. And what is the meaning of life in relation to the universe, all right? That is what I believe is the meaning of life in relation to the universe all the time. And it doesn't matter if the universe doesn't have an intrinsic meaning. We give it meaning. And we give it meaning, and the best is this, because this is the only unifier of all humans, and that's the only way we can preserve, it goes within itself. It's almost like a circular argument. But I cannot help it like that, because it has to be that. Otherwise, what are our grounds here? What's the ground here? Nothingness? Chaos? Purposelessness? No direction? How do we finish things? No discipline. All of that just goes away. All of that just goes away, and you're just miserable in life, and just moves around like that. And that's not good. It's the opposite of health. It's the opposite of health. And the subjective experience in life, which you cannot deny. I mean, you can even that, but you're just insane by definition then. And well, not insane by psychiatrist definition, but by my definition, you're insane, because you can't, you are subjective human experience every single day. So, and when you have this pain, you have a challenge, you have something to strive towards. And this is built in, change is built in and imperfection is built in. Like I said, if everything is perfect, we have nothing to strive towards. And you see, we have something to strive towards. Preserving the human species, moving towards immortality as much as we can. And in reality, immortality, not afterlife. I'm not talking about, because afterlife, this is well, it's not immortality, it's non-existence. This is perfection. So in death, you reach perfection. But in life, you are always in imperfection. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's how it is. It's actually not unfortunately, because if it was otherwise, like I said, this wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be a purpose for me to help anyone, for you to help anyone, for anyone to help anyone, or existing for anyone, and even there wouldn't be a meaning to create a family and children. There wouldn't be a meaning in having friends. Why have friends when perfection? Because what's the point of having these friends if you're never moving towards something, and that is meaning and purpose. It has to move towards something, and movement, motion is life. There is movement here, there is stillness here, unchange, stillness. So what's the point of just going in circles? There is no point in going in circles. You should have a direction. So it goes both, universe and humans, in some sense. Now, even though I understand the universe doesn't have a meaning in that sense, it doesn't have a goal in that sense that we know of, but that doesn't truly matter. What matters is that we put meaning into it. And indirectly, like I said, we can indirectly put a meaning into the universe. Well, we do that by ourselves, like this. But also, the universe. We colonize, we actually change the universe by colonizing, moving, using, and so forth, using parts and stuff. So, in a lot of ways, it is intricate, but indirectly with the universe. So in some sense, I saved the whole peace thing, but I wasn't sure that my philosophy could save the peaceful thing, because it's not just about peace in that sense. You have inner conflict, so it's not inner peace, because if you have perfect inner peace all the time, every single day, you're perfectly enlightened, then there is no more meaning in life. You have nothing to strive for. You could just sit there, meditate under a tree all day long, do nothing, and create nothing, and create no meaning unto others and yourself, giving yourself, satisfaction, because we are humans, we have desires. We shouldn't deny this, because when we deny this, we move away from greater health. And so I believe actually the Buddha and all those are actually wrong. I see that as a wrong. That is wrong because it doesn't have a direction. It just moves inwards, and you have stillness and nothing gets created. So what's the point of that? There is no point there. You see, it's also in the language. What's the point of this? The same way, I was training training my own body. So what's the point of just training for myself? There is no point in just training for myself. There is a little bit of point in it, subjectively, for me, but not for you. So, well, indirectly for you, because I can teach you, for example, and so forth. You know, there are multiple layers in life. It is interesting like that. So there is a lot of indirectness and directness in life. That's how I see everything. That is how I see everything. Now, those thoughts, I was thinking about this recently, and yeah, we'll end it there.